Let's quickly go over the answers to the practice performance task. Question number 1 is asking how many degrees of the room a single security guard can view if he's placed in the middle. And the diagram gives a pretty accurate representation of that. And what we're trying to figure out is the measure of arc CB, and we see it marked here in green. Because both of these angles are central, we know that the arc is equal to the angle that it forms. So here, each of these arcs is 60 degrees, which means the total number of degrees the security guard can view is 60 plus another 60, which is 120 degrees. So the answer to number 1 is 120. Number 2 moves the security guard back to the edge of the room and asks how many degrees of the room he can see. He's still staring directly at the painting, but 60 degrees and 60 degrees to his left and right are his line of sight. So this security guard can see everything from here all the way around to here. So moving back to the edge of the room certainly gives the security guard a much larger view of the room. So how many degrees can he see? Well, if this is 60 degrees and it's an inscribed angle, it's pulled back to the edge, then he must be able to see 120 degrees on this side. And this is also 60, which means he can see 120 degrees on this side. So the total viewing angle for this security guard will be 240 degrees. We're going to use this again coming up in a few. Moving on to question number 3, we now have 2 security guards in an awkward stare down on opposite sides of the room. And the question asks how many degrees of the room can be viewed by both of the security guards. And the way I would approach this is by first asking how many degrees are only viewable by one person. And we know that security guard E cannot see anything in this range right here. This is technically behind his line of sight. And since his angle of vision is 120 degrees, which means he can see 240 degrees of the room, here's the 240 degrees of the room, then 360 minus 240 means this area behind his line of sight is 120 degrees. So 120 degrees of the room is not visible to security guard E. It's only visible from the other security guard. So we also have on the other side of the room this part right here, which will only be viewable by security guard E because it'll be behind security guard D. So we've got 120 degrees that D cannot see, and we have 120 degrees that E cannot see. So there are a grand total of 240 degrees that can only be seen by one guard, which means there are 120 degrees that are viewable by both guards. And that would be these side areas right here that both guards can see. Finally, number 4 is a very challenging question, but I think the best way to approach number 4 is algebraically. We know that if a guard is positioned on the side of the room, he can view 240 degrees of the circle. Looking out this way and this way, what's left over here is 240 degrees. Because his line of sight is 120, pulled back makes the arc 240. So if I want to see the circle twice, I want every part of the circle to be viewed twice, that's 360 times 2, which is 720. Each guard can see 240, so 720 divided by 240 is 3. You would have to hire 3 guards in order for every spot of the room to be seen twice.